There are over 80 different neighborhoods in San Francisco, each of them vastly different from each other, from food, nightlife, walkability, views, nature access. There are so many different characteristics to be thinking about when you're trying to figure out where to buy your next home. And as with any search, it can be really helpful to start broadly and then narrow it down, to think through the overarching characteristics of different sectors of the city before honing it down to a few micro neighborhoods or street segments in various sub-districts. This is Austin Clark, your lawyer turned real estate agent in San Francisco and Marin County, and in this video, I'm breaking down the major differences between living on the north side of the city versus the south side of the city. I've lived in neighborhoods on both the north side of Market Street and the south side of Market Street, and after several years in both, I've decided that the north side is my personal preference, and I'm going to break down why in this video and help you start to narrow down your search if you're looking to move to the city. So let's dive right into it, and the first reason is the style of housing that's available on the north side of San Francisco versus the south side of San Francisco. I've lived in all types of housing here in San Francisco during my 13 years here. The high-rise modern amenity buildings with city views, gym, pool, doormen, to the 160-year-old historic Victorian charmer that we all probably envision when we think about what it's like living in San Francisco. And for me personally, I prefer something that's more historic and charming, that's been a little bit more modernized on the interior than I do kind of a brand new modern high-rise amenity building. Now, you can definitely find that on the south side of the city, but by and large, there's a lot greater concentration of them on the north side of the city than the south side of the city. You have pre-war mid-rise buildings with full floor residences. You have pre-earthquake Victorians, Edwardians, Tudors, and colonial style homes on massive lots. You have houses that were built in the 1800s that were converted into small duplexes. In comparison, on the south side of the city, you have a much greater concentration of more modern buildings, modern high-rise buildings, amenity buildings, and that's largely because a lot of the south side of the city, especially as you get closer to the waterfront, wasn't developed until substantially later in history. A lot of it used to be industrial waterfront space, and it has since been converted into residential space. So the infrastructure there is a lot newer than what you get in other parts, especially on the north side of San Francisco. So places near Sonoma, South Beach, Yerba Buena, Mission Bay, Dogpatch, all along that central waterfront, all of that was largely built up in recent history. There are places on the south side like Noe and Eureka Valley and the Mission where you can get those historic homes, like I mentioned. So definitely don't mean to imply that it's impossible to find on the south side. It's just that you're gonna have a lot more optionality, more available on the north side of San Francisco. Obviously, budget dependent, depending on what neighborhoods you're actually looking in. By the way, if you like videos about living in San Francisco, current events, new developments, all things San Francisco real estate, make sure to subscribe to my channel because I make videos about that stuff every single week. And if you're thinking about buying a home in the city and you have questions about what's been going on in the market with all the changes we've been experiencing in the city and globally, reach out to me. I've lived in San Francisco for well over a decade and have helped numerous people relocate here from all over the country. I'd be happy to be a resource for you. I'll put my contact info in the description below. Reach out anytime. Now back to reasons why I prefer the north side of the city versus the south side. And the second reason is park access. San Francisco has one of the best, if not the best, park systems of any major metropolitan area in the country. No matter where you live in San Francisco, you're gonna live within 10 minutes walk of some sort of open green space. It's incredible, but not all parks are created equal. And there's no question in my mind that living north of Market Street will give you access to a far greater array of better parks than living on the south side. Between Golden Gate Park, the Presidio, Lincoln Park, Crissy Field, Marina Green, Joe DiMaggio Park, Mountain Lake Park, Alta Plaza Park, Lafayette Park, you have the best range of available park spaces in the entire city on that northern side of San Francisco. And these parks have so many amenities: tennis courts, basketball courts, lakes, golf courses, disc golf courses, pickleball courts, you name it, they've got it. Are there parks that rival some of these parks on the south side of the city? Definitely yes. Dolores Park, McLaren Park, Presida Park. These are awesome parks on the south side of the city. It's just that unless you live really close to them, you don't really have access to a lot of other great parks. So you're going to be so much closer to so much more living on the north side of the city than the south side of the city. And don't get me wrong, those parks that I just mentioned on the south side of the city, they're awesome. My favorite is probably Dolores Park. Dolores Park has incredible views of downtown. The weather is incredible, but I don't think it rivals several of these other parks that I mentioned on the north side of the city. The views at a lot of these other parks are just as good, if not better. You know, you're literally on the water at the Marina Green and Chrissy Field with unobstructed bridge views and Alcatraz views. You have incredible city views from Malta Plaza and Lafayette Park, along with basketball and tennis, just like you have at Dolores Park. And then you have some of the most peaceful views of the Pacific Ocean from Lincoln Park. So Dolores Park is awesome. I love it. And if you live around there, it's an incredible amenity to have. But a lot of other parks on the north side of the city rival it, in my opinion. And I think there's just more optionality for parks on the north side of the city compared to the south. The third reason I personally prefer living on the north side of the city compared to the south side is proximity to Marin, Napa, and Sonoma. If you want to go hiking or biking in Marin, or you want to go wine tasting, or you want to eat at one of the many incredible restaurants in Napa or Sonoma, it's just easier to get to those places if you live on the north side of the city. Not having to contend with traffic getting across Market Street and across the city can save you at least 30 minutes of time, if not more. Maybe that's not a big deal to you if you only go to Napa or Sonoma like once or twice a year, or if you have zero interest whatsoever in hiking or biking in Marin. But as somebody who works in Marin multiple days a week, has family that lives in Marin, likes to utilize nature access that you get in Marin County, and goes to Napa or Sonoma almost every month, I really value being closer to the Golden Gate Bridge. Now, it's not like you don't have access to any of that kind of stuff. If you live on the south side of San Francisco, you are closer to the Bay Bridge and therefore closer to the East Bay if you live on the south side of the city. And there is hiking and biking, nature and golf courses, and even wine tasting in the East Bay. But I promise you, traffic over the Bay Bridge is horrendous compared to traffic over the Golden Gate Bridge. So it's just going to be a lot easier to get to those things, in my opinion, especially if you live on the north side of the city. And Napa and Sonoma, I mean, you're not really going to compare that to the wine tasting that's in the East Bay. So overall, at least for my personal lifestyle, north side of the city, easier access to those other things that I like to do outside of the city than if I were living on the south side of the city. But obviously, if those are not your priorities, or maybe you work in the South Bay, for example, your priorities might be a little bit different or ranked differently than mine, and you might ultimately choose to be on the south side of the city. The next reason I prefer to live on the north side of the city compared to the south side of the city is parking and traffic. There's a ton you can do in San Francisco without having a car. I actually lived in SF for several years without having a car, but I lived within 2 blocks of multiple grocery stores. I was a block away from the gym that I was going to at the time, and I was walking distance to my office. So I personally didn't need a car, and that's because I lived in a pocket of San Francisco that happened to check all those boxes for me. And there are certainly other pockets of San Francisco that you can live in that might check all those boxes depending on your specific lifestyle. But most people are not going to have the benefit of that exact arrangement. They're probably going to need a car for at least part of their day-to-day life. And in my experience, I think it's easier to get around and it's easier to park on the north side of the city compared to the south side of the city. Traffic, for one, is so much better on the north side. Not having to contend with traffic surrounding the Bay Bridge, 280, 101 freeways, around Chase Center, around Oracle Park, that makes a huge difference. I definitely don't mean to imply that there's zero traffic on the north side of the city. There absolutely can be, but it's just not as bad as on the south side. I also think that there's better parking access on the north side of the city. If you're on the south side, there's a lot more parking that's reserved for commercial vehicles, not for recreational or like residential access, because you're around a lot of those high rises on the south side of the city. Near places like Salesforce Tower and all those surrounding high rises. And in areas like Glen Park, Noe, Bernal Heights, and other neighborhoods, parking can be incredibly difficult. Now, there are neighborhoods on the north side of the city as well that are very difficult to park in. There are the very dense neighborhoods like Nob Hill, or just neighborhoods that don't have a lot of parking access like the Marina. It can be really tough to find a street spot. But overall, because it's less dense on the north side from a business and residential standpoint, it tends to be easier to find parking depending on the neighborhood. Now, obviously, if you don't have a car or you buy a place that has a garage spot, that's irrelevant to you. But maybe you're like me, you're a 2-car family and you only have 1 parking spot at your property. You need street parking access, or easier street parking access for your day-to-day life. Or maybe you don't have a car at all, but you want a place for your friends to park or family to park when they come over. it's probably going to be easier to do that on the north side of the city compared to the south side of the city. And the last reason I prefer the north side of the city compared to the south side of the city is the view profiles. You can get incredible views living on the south side of the city, especially from places like Noe Valley, Glen Park, Bernal Heights, incredible views of downtown San Francisco, of the Bay Bridge and the East Bay. But in my opinion, nothing beats the prime views that you can get from a ton of different neighborhoods on the north side of San Francisco, places like in Seacliff, where you can get views of the Pacific Ocean, of the Marin Headlands, or views of the Golden Gate Bridge, Alcatraz, and Marin from Pacific Heights, Presidio Heights, Cow Hollow, or all those views plus views of like downtown San Francisco from Russian Hill or Nob Hill. You can even get views all the way to the East Bay and to the Bay Bridge from those places. Or you can be right on the water in the marina. You also have incredible views of the gorgeous parks that I mentioned, views of Alta Plaza Park, Lafayette Park, Golden Gate Park, all these incredible parks on the north side, beautiful to look at from your residence. So all around, I think the views on the north side are just a little bit of a cut above what you get on the south side, and that's one of the primary drivers why on average property on the north side of the city is more expensive than property on the south side of the city. Well, there you have it. Those are my personal reasons for preferring the north side of the city over the south side of the city. There are definitely some reasons why the south side is going to be better depending on your lifestyle. South side for sure has better weather. The food scene on the south side is pretty amazing with, the Mission District, multiple Michelin star restaurants in Sonoma, and a ton of incredible food that's servicing a lot of the businesses in those areas. It's definitely easier for people commuting to the South Bay to live on the south side of the city. Also, if you prefer more modern infrastructure, you have a higher likelihood of finding that on the south side of the city. Or if maybe you're a young professional and you want everything all accessible within your building between gym and co-working space and all these other amenities, probably not going to find that on the north side of the city. You're more likely to find that on the south side of the city. There's also a lot more flat land on the south side of the city, especially as you get closer to the waterfront. So it's easier to walk around in a lot of these neighborhoods than in some of these neighborhoods on the north side of the city that can be pretty hilly. So there are a ton of reasons someone might choose the south side of the city instead of the north side of the city. I just personally prefer the north side given my particular lifestyle. If you're having trouble narrowing down the exact right neighborhood for you, or if you have questions about what's going on in the market, reach out to me. I was a lawyer at one of the biggest law firms in the world before getting into real estate, and I've helped numerous people relocate here from all over the country. I'd be happy to be a resource for you in your home purchase search. My contact information is in the description below. Reach out anytime. And if you like videos about San Francisco real estate, current events, new developments, make sure to subscribe to my channel because I make videos about that stuff every single week. And if you want to learn more about how to prioritize different neighborhoods based on food, walkability, views, and other factors, I've got another video on that gets more specific on neighborhoods instead of just north side versus south side. Go check that out. I'll link it in the description below. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.